Captain Ethan Kelly stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Vanguard, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching Keldorian vessels. The alien ships moved in perfect formation, their sleek, predatory designs a stark contrast to the utilitarian human vessels. "How many?" Kelly asked, his voice steady despite the tension. Lieutenant Kate Mason looked up from her tactical station. 23 warships, Captain. All heavy class." Kelly nodded. The diplomatic mission had failed spectacularly. Less than 6 hours ago, the pride of Earth's diplomatic fleet, the Concorde, had been reduced to floating debris after a misunderstanding during first contact protocols. Now the Keldorians were showing exactly what kind of aliens they were. Status of the colony evacuation? Kelly asked. Commander Sofia Martinez, his second-in-command, pulled up a separate display. 30% complete. We need at least 5 more hours to get everyone off Europa. 5 hours they didn't have. The Keldorian ships would be in weapons range in less than 2. Kelly rubbed his temple. At 45, he was considered young for a captain of a defense vessel, but right now he felt ancient. "Lieutenant Mason, what are our chances if we engage?" Mason didn't hesitate. "Minimal, sir. The Keldorians outgun us 4-1. The Vanguard is tough, but not that tough." From the science station, Dr. Alan Reeves cleared his throat. The xenobiologist had been studying the Keldorians for years, though this was humanity's first direct contact with the empire that controlled nearly a third of the known galaxy. "Captain, the Keldorians respect strength above all else. If we retreat, without showing any fight, they'll pursue and destroy the colony ships too." Kelly tapped his fingers against the armrest of his chair. "Then we make a stand. Not to win, but to be remembered." He opened the ship-wide communication channel. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. We are engaging a superior Keldorian, forced to buy time for the Europa evacuation. I won't lie to you. The odds aren't in our favor. But every minute we keep them busy is another shuttle full of civilians getting to safety." Kelly turned to his weapons officer. "Ready all missile tubes. Load the new EX-9 warheads." Mason's eyes widened. "Sir, those are experimental. They haven't been fully tested in combat. No time like the present, Lieutenant. We need every advantage." The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, the gravity of the situation reflected in their focused expressions. Kelly had served with most of them for years. They were the best Earth had to offer. "Incoming transmission from Earth Command," Martinez announced. The main display switched to show Admiral William Hayes, his gray hair disheveled, dark circles under his eyes, suggesting he hadn't slept since the Concorde was destroyed. "Captain Kelly, I've just received the Keldorian ultimatum. They're demanding immediate surrender of all outer colonies or they'll launch a full-scale invasion of the Sol system." Kelly's jaw tightened. "And Earth's response?" "We've rejected their terms. We can't give up our colonies. They represent 30% of our industrial capacity and nearly 40% of our food production." "So it's war then?" Hayes nodded gravely. "It's war. A war we can't win conventionally. The Keldorian Empire has conquered dozens of species across 3 spiral arms. Their fleet numbers in the thousands. What are my orders, sir?" "Buy us time, Ethan, as much as you can. We're activating all reserve ships and calling in every favor from our allies, but—" Hayes paused, his expression grim. "Well, let's just say I'm glad the Vanguard is out there with you in command." The implied finality of the statement wasn't lost on Kelly. "We'll give them a fight they won't forget, sir." After the transmission ended, Kelly turned to his crew. "Set course to intercept the Keldorian fleet. We'll engage them at the edge of Europa's moon system. The radiation and debris will limit their sensor advantage." The Vanguard accelerated toward the approaching alien armada. On the tactical display, the enemy ships spread out into an attack formation that Kelly recognized from the military briefings, a classic Keldorian envelopment pattern. "They're not even bothering to hide their intentions," Mason commented. "They don't need to," Dr. Reeves replied. "The Keldorians believe their superiority is self-evident. In their culture, hiding your strength is seen as weakness." Kelly smiled grimly. "Then let's use that arrogance against them. Mason, plot a course through this debris field. Martinez, power down all non-essential systems. We're going to play dead until they get close, then hit them with everything we've got. For the next hour, the Vanguard drifted, engines cold, only minimal life support systems running. The Keldorian fleet approached cautiously but confidently. They're scanning us, Mason reported, reading minimal power signatures. Hold, Kelly ordered. Wait until the lead ship is within optimum range. The bridge was silent, except for the soft beeping of instrumentation. Kelly felt sweat trickle down his back despite the cooler temperature from the reduced life support. First target in range in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, all power to weapons. Fire everything. The Vanguard roared to life, energy surging through its systems. Missile tubes emptied in rapid succession, the experimental EX-9 warheads streaking toward the surprised Keldorian vessels. Direct hit on the lead ship, Mason called out. Their shields are down. On the display, the Keldorian formation scattered, in confusion. The EX-9 warheads detonated, not with conventional explosions, but with pulses of energy that crashed through the alien shields like they weren't there. Secondary explosions on 3 enemy vessels, Martinez reported. They're breaking formation. For a brief moment, Kelly allowed himself to hope. Then reality reasserted itself as the remaining Keldorian ships regrouped. They're adapting their shield frequencies, Mason warned. The EX-9s won't work twice. Kelly nodded. I didn't expect them to. Helm. Evasive pattern Delta. Let's keep them busy as long as we can. For the next 2 hours, the Vanguard engaged in a desperate game of cat and mouse, darting between Europa's moons using the natural phenomena of the Jovian system to confuse Keldorian targeting systems. They managed to damage 3 more enemy ships, but the Vanguard took heavy hits in return. Hull breach on decks 4 through 7, Martinez reported. Emergency force fields are holding, but we can't take much more of this. Colony evacuation. Status? Kelly asked, wiping blood from a cut on his forehead. 98% complete. Just 2 more shuttles to go. Kelly nodded. Then we've almost done our job. At that moment, Dr. Reeves called out from his station. Captain, I'm picking up unusual energy readings from Titan. Titan? That's nowhere near here. I know, sir, but I was monitoring deep space communications. There's an abandoned research facility there showing power spikes that shouldn't be possible. Kelly frowned. What kind of facility? According to the records, it was developing some kind of experimental propulsion system. Project name Phantom. Whatever it is, it'll have to wait, Kelly said, as the ship shuddered under another hit. We've got more immediate problems, Reeves persisted. Sir, the energy signature is unlike anything I've ever seen. It might be... His words were cut off as a massive impact rocked the Vanguard. Direct hit to engineering, Martinez shouted. We've lost main power. On the display, Kelly watched as the Keldorian ships closed in for the kill. The evacuation was complete. They'd accomplished their mission, but he couldn't help feeling that they were missing something important. Dr. Reeves, what were you saying about that facility on Titan? Reeves looked up, his eyes bright with a mixture of fear and excitement. The project was shut down because it was deemed too dangerous, too unstable. But if it works, Captain, it might be humanity's only hope against the Keldorian Empire. Kelly made his decision. Martinez, get damage control teams. To seal off the damaged sections. Mason, plot us an escape vector. Use the emergency thrusters if you have to. Sir? Mason questioned. We can barely move. We're not finished yet, Lieutenant. If we can break away, we're setting course for Titan. Kelly's eyes gleamed with newfound determination. We're going to find this Phantom project. The Vanguard limped toward Saturn's largest moon, trailing a thin line of debris. The journey had taken 3 days. 3 days of emergency repairs, of crew working in shifts to keep the damaged ship running. 3 days of watching the long-range scanners for Keldorian pursuit. Captain Kelly stood in the observation room looking at the approaching gray sphere of Titan. Its thick atmosphere hid the surface from view, clouds of methane and ethane swirling in patterns that reminded him of Earth's oceans. The door hissed open behind him, Commander Martinez stepped in, holding a data tablet. Status report, Kelly said without turning around. Engineering has restored power to 60% of the ship. Life support is stable. We lost 23 crew members in the battle. Martinez's voice caught slightly at the last part. Kelly knew she took every loss personally. And the Keldorians? Our last intelligence from Earth indicates they're massing a fleet near Saturn's orbit. Over 500 warships, Captain. They'll reach Earth in less than a week. Kelly finally turned to face her. Then we have less than a week to find this phantom technology and figure out how to use it. Dr. Reeves and Lieutenant Mason joined them, both looking exhausted but determined. We've found the facility, Reeves said. It's built into the side of a mountain range on Titan's northern hemisphere. The place was officially shut down 3 years ago, but I'm still detecting power signatures. Someone's still there, Kelly concluded. Mason nodded. And they're using a lot of power for a supposedly abandoned facility. Kelly made his decision quickly. Prepare a landing party. Martinez, you have the ship. Mason, Reeves, you're with me. And we'll take Chief Engineer Garcia too. If this phantom drive is some kind of propulsion system, we'll need his expertise. 4 hours later, Kelly led his team through the howling winds of Titan's surface. Their environmental suits protected them from the extreme cold, but the thick atmosphere and low gravity made movement awkward. Ahead of them loomed a massive metal door built into the mountainside. No security that I can see, Mason observed, scanning the entrance with her equipment. That's because no one in their right mind would come here voluntarily, a voice crackled, over their suit communicators. This facility was abandoned for good reasons. Kelly whirled around, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon. A figure in a weathered environmental suit approached them, moving with the ease of someone long accustomed to Titan's conditions. Who are you? Kelly demanded. Dr. Olivia Wright, former head of Project Phantom. The figure stopped a few meters away. The question is, who are you and why are you disturbing my solitude? Kelly lowered his weapon. Captain Ethan Kelly, Earth Defense Ship Vanguard. We're here because Earth is under attack by the Keldorian Empire, and we have reason to believe your project might help us. There was a long pause before Wright spoke again. You'd better come inside. The interior of the facility was surprisingly well maintained. Lighting systems hummed to life as they walked through the corridors, revealing clean metal surfaces and functioning equipment. Wright led them to a large central chamber dominated by a holographic projection system. After removing her helmet, she revealed herself to be a woman in her 50s, with short gray hair and intense blue eyes that seemed to burn with an inner fire. The Phantom Drive isn't just a propulsion system, Wright explained as she activated the holographic display. It's a way to move through space by partially existing outside of it. The hologram showed a spacecraft that looked similar to the Vanguard, but with strange attachments along its hull that pulsed with an eerie blue light. I don't understand, Kelly admitted. Wright sighed. In simple terms, Captain, the drive allows a ship to partially phase out of normal spacetime. While in this state, the ship can ignore many laws of physics. It can move through solid objects, accelerate beyond normal limits, and appear or disappear at will. Chief Engineer Garcia, a stocky man with perpetually oil-stained hands, whistled. You're talking about a ghost ship, something that can pop in and out of reality. Exactly, Wright said with a grim smile. A phantom. If this technology works, why was it abandoned? Mason asked. Wright's expression darkened. Because it works too well. During our tests, we sent unmanned drones equipped with prototype drives into orbit around Titan. They performed perfectly at first, then they started disappearing. Disappearing? Reeves leaned forward, intrigued. They would vanish completely, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. When they returned, they were different. Wright pulled up images of the test drones. This one came back with its internal components rearranged but still functioning. This one returned with markings on its hull that didn't match any known language. She highlighted the final image, showing a drone that appeared to be partially transparent as if it wasn't fully solid. And this one never fully returned to normal space. It exists in a state of partial phase, unable to fully materialize. Kelly processed this information. You're saying the drive doesn't just move the ship through space, it moves it somewhere else entirely? Not somewhere else, Wright corrected. Somewhere in between. A state of existence that isn't quite our reality but isn't completely separate either. And that's why the project was shut down, Reeves concluded. Wright nodded. The review board decided it was too dangerous. They ordered everything dismantled. I was the only one who refused to leave. Because you still believe in it, Kelly said, understanding dawning. Because I know what's out there now, Wright whispered. In that in-between place. Something alive. Something aware. A heavy silence fell over the group. Finally, Kelly spoke. Dr. Wright, Earth needs this technology. The Keldorians have a fleet of over 500 warships heading toward our planet. We have less than a week before they arrive. And you think becoming ghosts will save you? Wright asked incredulously. I think having ships that can't be tracked or hit, that can strike from impossible angles and disappear before the enemy can respond, yes, that might save us. Wright studied him for a long moment. You don't understand what you're asking for, Captain. Maybe not, Kelly admitted. But I understand what happens if we do nothing. Earth falls. Billions die. The human race becomes just another conquered species in the Keldorian Empire. Chief Engineer Garcia stepped forward. Doctor, I've spent my life making things work that shouldn't. If you've got a prototype, I can help you finish it. Wright looked at each of them in turn, her expression conflicted. Then she seemed to come to a decision. I have more than a prototype. I have a full-scale drive system that could be installed on your ship. But I must warn you, once you activate it, your ship and crew will never be the same. Kelly nodded solemnly. None of us will be the same after this war, Doctor. But at least we'll have a chance to survive it. Very well, Wright said. But remember, Captain, when you stare into the void between realities, something stares back. As if punctuating her warning, the lights in the facility flickered, casting strange shadows across the walls that seemed to move of their own accord. We should hurry, Wright said, moving toward a sealed door at the far end of the chamber. Your engineer will need to see the drive components and will need to modify your ship extensively. As they followed her, Kelly received an urgent communication from the Vanguard. Captain, Martinez's voice crackled through his communicator. Long-range sensors have detected a Keldorian advance fleet approaching Saturn. They'll be in orbit within 12 hours. Kelly exchanged a grim look with his team. We just ran out of time, Doctor. Whatever you've got, it needs to be ready now. The installation of the Phantom drive was not going well. Chief Engineer Garcia worked alongside Dr. Wright, both of them covered in sweat despite the cold environment of the ship's engineering section. The Vanguard shuddered as they rerouted power conduits and modified the ship's systems to accommodate the alien technology. This connection isn't holding, Garcia said through gritted teeth as he tried to secure a glowing blue power coupling. The energy output is too unstable. Dr. Wright nodded grimly. That's because it's not just energy as we understand it. The drive pulls power from elsewhere. Captain Kelly stood nearby watching the readouts on a portable screen. The Keldorian fleet was now just 9 hours away. They had managed to get the drive components onto the ship, but making them work with human technology was proving difficult. Can you get it operational? Kelly asked bluntly. Wright wiped her brow, leaving a smudge of dark fluid that didn't look like engine oil. 85% complete, but that last 15% is the most critical. We need at least 6 more hours. We don't have 6 hours, Kelly reminded her. Make it work, Doctor. As he left engineering, Kelly passed Private Jack Winters, a young Marine who had volunteered to help with the heavy lifting. Winters was sitting against the wall, his face pale, eyes unfocused. Are you all right, Private? Kelly asked. Winters blinked several times as if returning to reality. Yes, sir, just got dizzy for a moment. I think I saw. Never mind, sir. It's nothing. Kelly frowned but continued on his way to the bridge. He didn't have time to worry about one Marine when the fate of Earth hung in the balance. On the bridge, Lieutenant Mason had the con. She stood as Kelly entered. Captain, the Keldorian advance fleet has accelerated. New estimated arrival, 7 hours. Kelly swore under his breath. Status of our weapon systems? 50% operational. We've managed to repair most of the missile launchers, but our energy weapons are still offline. Even at full capacity, the Vanguard couldn't hope to defeat a Keldorian advance fleet. Their only chance was the Phantom Drive. And the main fleet? Kelly asked. Mason's expression was grim. Still on course for Earth. Our latest communication from Admiral Hayes indicates they're preparing for a last stand. Kelly nodded. Tell Dr. Wright and Garcia they have 5 hours, not 6. We need that drive operational. 5 decks below, Dr. Nicole Baker, the ship's psychologist, was interviewing crew members who had worked closely with the Phantom Drive components. All of them reported similar symptoms: headaches, strange dreams, momentary hallucinations. It's like something's watching us, one engineer said. I can feel it when I'm near the drive. Baker made notes on her tablet. As a psychologist, she was trained to look for rational explanations for seemingly irrational experiences. Mass hysteria, stress, fear, all could explain what the crew was experiencing. But as more reports came in, she began to wonder if something else was happening. Private Winters was her most concerning case. Unlike the others who experienced brief moments of unease, Winters described detailed visions. I see them, he told her, his voice barely above a whisper. Between the walls of the ship, between the spaces. They're reaching through. Who is reaching through, Jack? Baker asked gently. They don't have names like we do. They exist. Differently. But they're interested in us, in what we're doing with the drive. Baker was about to ask another question when the ship's communication system crackled to life. All crew secure for emergency drive test, Kelly's voice announced. Repeat, secure all stations for emergency drive test in 5 minutes. In engineering, Dr. Wright and Garcia exchanged worried glances. It's not ready, Wright warned. Garcia shrugged. It's as ready as it's going to get. The Keldorians aren't going to wait for us to perfect it. They had connected the Phantom Drive to the ship's main power systems. The device itself looked deceptively simple. A spherical chamber filled with swirling blue energy, surrounded by a complex array of sensors and control mechanisms. The key, Wright explained to Kelly as he joined them, is to maintain a precise balance. Too little power, and we remain fully in normal space. Too much, and we might phase out completely. And what happens if we phase out completely? Kelly asked. Wright's eyes were deadly serious. Then we join the others who never came back. Before Kelly could question her further, the ship's alert system blared. Keldorian vessels detected on approach vector, Mason's voice announced. 6 hours until intercept. Kelly made his decision. Start the drive. Wright hesitated, then nodded to Garcia. Together, they began the activation sequence. The lights throughout the ship dimmed as power was diverted to the Phantom Drive. The spherical chamber at the heart of the device began to pulse more rapidly, the blue energy within it growing brighter. Power at 30%, Garcia reported. 40, 50. A low hum filled the ship, not quite a sound, but more a vibration that could be felt in the bones. Several crew members clutched their heads, wincing. 60%. 70. The metal walls of the engineering section seemed to shimmer, becoming temporarily translucent before solidifying again. Through the brief glimpses, impossible geometries could be seen, spaces that couldn't exist within the confines of the ship. 80%. Private Winters, who had been assigned to engineering security, suddenly stood straighter. His eyes, previously unfocused, now shone with an inner light that matched the blue glow of the drive. They're coming through, he whispered, but his voice sounded different, layered with other tones. 90%, Garcia shouted over the growing vibration. Drive stability at critical levels. Dr. Wright watched in fascination and horror as the walls, floor, and ceiling of the engineering section became increasingly transparent. Beyond them was not the void of space, but something else entirely, a realm of shifting light and movement. 100%, Garcia announced. Phantom state achieved. Every person on the ship felt it, a moment of existential terror, as reality itself seemed to bend around them. It was as if they were being pulled in multiple directions at once, existing in more than one place. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, The sensation stabilized. The ship still existed, still functioned, but something fundamental had changed. Status. Report, Kelly demanded, his voice sounding strange in his own ears. All systems operational, Garcia said, checking his instruments. But different. On the bridge, Mason stared at her sensor displays in disbelief. Captain, you need to see this, the Keldorian fleet, and they can't see us. Kelly hurried to the bridge, leaving Wright and Garcia to monitor the drive. The tactical display showed the Keldorian vessels continuing on their previous course, giving no indication that they detected the vanguard. Are we invisible? Kelly asked. Not exactly, Mason replied. According to our own sensors, we're still here. But to external scans, we appear as little more than a ghost image. A phantom. Kelly felt a chill run down his spine as he realized the implications. Can we still affect the physical world? Can we fire weapons? As if in answer, the ship's computer display flickered and changed without anyone touching the controls. Lines of text appeared. We can help you fight. Kelly stared at the message. Who's doing that? Who's accessing the computer? No one on the bridge moved. The text changed again. We have always been here. Between spaces, watching, waiting. Now you have opened the door. Private Winters entered the bridge, moving with an unnatural grace. When he spoke, his voice still carried that strange layered quality. They want to talk to you, Captain. The ones who live in the in-between. They're curious about us. About our war with the Keldorians. Kelly looked from Winters to the screen, and back again. What are they? What do they want? Winters smiled, an expression that didn't quite fit his face. They are what you might call the entity, and they want to offer you a deal. Captain Kelly sat in his quarters staring at the strange blue light that occasionally flickered through the solid walls of the ship. It had been 3 days since they had activated the Phantom Drive. 3 days of learning to exist in this half-state, between normal space and somewhere else. A gentle knock on his door pulled him from his thoughts. Enter, he called out. Dr. Wright stepped inside. The physicist looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she hadn't slept much. Few of them had. The strange dreams were affecting everyone. We've received a transmission from Earth, Wright said without preamble. Admiral Peterson wants to speak with you. Kelly nodded and followed her to the communications room. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen, his expression a mixture of hope and disbelief. Captain Kelly, your last report. Peterson paused, searching for words. If I hadn't seen the sensor data myself, I wouldn't believe it. Your ship disappeared from all tracking systems, then reappeared 50 million miles away in under 10 minutes. The Phantom Drive works, sir, Kelly confirmed. Better than we expected. And this entity you mentioned? Kelly exchanged glances with Wright before answering. It appears to be some form of intelligence that exists in the space between dimensions. It communicates through our systems and through Private Winters, who seems to have developed a connection to it. Peterson looked troubled. Can it be trusted? I don't know, sir, but it has helped us evade the Keldorian advance fleet, and it claims it can help us do more than just hide. How much more? It says it can help us fight. It understands Keldorian technology and tactics. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. The main Keldorian fleet is now less than 48 hours from Earth. We need more than one Phantom ship, Kelly. I know, sir. Dr. Wright believes we can replicate the drive for other vessels. We're sending you the specifications now. Wright stepped forward. Admiral, I must warn you. Each activation of a Phantom Drive seems to strengthen the entity's presence in our reality. There may be unforeseen consequences. Peterson's face hardened. Doctor, we're facing extinction. I'll take unforeseen consequences over certain defeat. After the transmission ended, Kelly turned to Wright. How many ships can we convert in time? With the resources at Earth's disposal? Maybe 20. Not enough to face the Keldorian main fleet head-on. Kelly nodded grimly. Then we'll have to be smarter than them. Over the next 24 hours, the Vanguard returned to Earth, moving through normal space in brief jumps before slipping back into phantom state. The strange half-reality they inhabited allowed them to pass undetected through the Keldorian patrols, setting up a blockade around Earth. Captain Lisa Howard of the Earth Defense Ship Defiant was the first to greet them upon their arrival. Her ship was already being retrofitted with a phantom drive based on the specifications sent ahead by the Vanguard. "It looks unsettling," Howard commented as she examined the pulsing blue sphere being installed in her engineering section. "Wait until you activate it," Kelly replied. "Unsettling doesn't begin to describe it. 20 ships. That was all Earth could prepare in time. 20 against a fleet of 500. The odds were still overwhelming, but now they had something the Keldorians didn't expect. As each new ship activated its phantom drive, the entity's presence grew stronger. Lights flickered throughout Earth's orbital stations. Computer systems displayed strange symbols momentarily before returning to normal, and more crew members began reporting dreams of vast, impossible spaces and beings of pure energy reaching out to them. Private Winters was no longer the only one connected to the entity. Others began to show the same symptoms: the distant look in their eyes, the layered voices, the unnatural grace in their movements. Dr. Baker, the ship's psychologist, reported her findings to Kelly with growing concern. "It's like they're being partially possessed," she explained. "They remain themselves, but with something else looking through their eyes." Kelly frowned. "Is it harmful?" "Not physically. But they're changing, Captain. Their thought patterns are becoming more alien." Before Kelly could respond, an alert sounded throughout the ship. The Keldorian main fleet had arrived earlier than expected. The final battle for Earth was about to begin. Fleet Admiral Peterson gathered the captains of the 20 Phantom ships for a final briefing. "Our conventional forces will engage the Keldorians directly," Peterson explained, pointing to the tactical display. "Meanwhile, your Phantom ships will use hit-and-run tactics, strike from impossible angles, then vanish before they can respond." The strategy was sound, but everyone knew the odds were still against them. The Keldorians simply had too many ships, too much firepower. As the briefing ended, Kelly pulled Dr. Wright aside. "There's something you're not telling us about the entity, isn't there?" Wright's expression was grave. "They're not just helping us out of kindness, Captain. They want something in return." "What?" "A way in, a permanent gateway to our reality. The more Phantom ships we activate, the closer they get to achieving that." Kelly processed this information. "Are they hostile?" "Not exactly, but they're hungry. They come from a dying reality and see ours as a potential new home." "And if they fully enter our universe?" Wright shook her head. "I don't know. They exist in ways we can't comprehend. Their presence might fundamentally alter our reality." Kelly felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Use the Phantom technology and risk letting something unknowable into their world, or face certain defeat at the hands of the Keldorians. "Can we modify the drives?" he asked finally. "Use them without opening the door completely?" Wright considered this. "Perhaps. If we could adjust the phase variance, we might be able to use the technology while keeping the entity at a safe distance." Their conversation was interrupted by Ben Carpenter, a civilian engineer who had been working with the drive components. "Captain, I think I found something," Carpenter said excitedly. "The Phantom state doesn't just make us hard to detect, it can be weaponized." "Explain," Kelly said. "If we can fully control the phase state, we could potentially extend it beyond the ship, create phantom fields that could pass through Keldorian shields and disrupt their systems from the inside." It was a desperate plan, but so was everything else they were attempting. Kelly gave Carpenter permission to implement his idea on the Vanguard as a test. As the Earth's last defenders moved into position, the Keldorian fleet appeared, darkening the sky with their numbers. The enemy ships moved with perfect coordination, spreading out to surround the planet. From the bridge of the Vanguard, Kelly watched as the conventional Earth forces engaged the enemy. The battle was uneven from the start, human ships being destroyed at a rate of 5-1. "All Phantom ships, engage as planned," Kelly ordered. "And may whatever gods exist in any reality help us now." The 20 Phantom ships, now ghostly blue in appearance, moved toward the Keldorian fleet. Just before they engaged, Private Winters, now permanently connected to the entity, spoke in that strange, layered voice. The Keldorians have seen us before. Long ago. They fear us. That is why they sought to destroy you before you found us. Kelly turned to him in surprise. What do you mean? The Keldorians encountered our kind before. They know what we can do. As if confirming his words, the Keldorian Emperor's personal flagship suddenly appeared at the center of their formation. A massive vessel unlike any they had seen before, it carried a strange device at its heart, a weapon designed for a very specific purpose. They came prepared, Winters said, his eyes glowing with that eerie blue light. They have a weapon against the phantom state. They remember us. The massive ship of the Keldorian Emperor Vexthor dwarfed everything around it. It hung in space like a dark star, its surface covered with weapons that tracked the movements of Earth's phantom fleet. At its center glowed a strange device that pulsed with an angry red light. That's an anti-phantom weapon, Dr. Wright said, her voice barely above a whisper. It creates a field that forces anything in phantom state back into normal space. Captain Kelly watched as the first of their phantom ships approached the Keldorian fleet. The Defiant, under Captain Howard's command, moved with impossible grace, phasing through Keldorian vessels and firing its weapons directly into their vulnerable internal systems. For a moment, it seemed like their strategy was working. The Phantom ships were untouchable, striking and vanishing before the Keldorians could respond. 3 enemy vessels erupted in flames, then 5 more. Then Emperor Vexthor activated his weapon. A wave of red energy spread out from his flagship, washing over the battlefield. When it touched the Defiant, the ship suddenly solidified, its phantom state stripped away. In an instant, it was surrounded by Keldorian vessels that opened fire from all directions. The Defiant didn't stand a chance. They're using our own trick against us, Lieutenant Mason said grimly, forcing us back into reality where they can hit us. Kelly turned to Private Winters, who stood silently watching the battle with those glowing blue eyes. Ask your friends what we can do about that weapon. Winters tilted his head as if listening to voices only he could hear. The entity says the weapon draws power from the same source as the Phantom drives. It creates a resonance that disrupts the phase state. Can we shield against it? Kelly asked. No, but... Winters paused, his expression changing. The entity says there is another way. A full phase shift. Dr. Wright stepped forward, her face pale. That's too dangerous. A full phase would take us completely out of our reality. We might never return. What other choice do we have? Kelly asked as another phantom ship was caught in the red energy field and destroyed. Lieutenant Sam Russell, the communications officer, suddenly called out from his station. Captain, I'm picking up a signal. It's strange, like nothing I've ever seen before? Put it through, Kelly ordered. The bridge speakers crackled with a sound that wasn't quite language. It was musical and mathematical at the same time, impossible for human ears to fully comprehend, but somehow they understood the meaning. We can help you defeat the Keldorians, but you must help us. Kelly exchanged glances with Dr. Wright. How? What do you need from us? A gateway. A permanent connection between our realities. Our world is dying. We need a new home. If we do this, Kelly asked, what happens to Earth? To humans? We would share your reality, coexist. We need your matter, your energy, but not your extinction. Dr. Wright shook her head. Captain, we can't trust them. They're desperate. Desperate beings do desperate things. Before Kelly could respond, the ship rocked violently. The red energy field from the Keldorian weapon had reached them, disrupting their phantom state. Warning! Alarms blared throughout the vanguard. We're vulnerable, Mason shouted. Keldorian vessels approaching from all sides. Kelly made his decision. Full power to weapons. Target their Emperor's ship. Specifically, target that weapon. The vanguard fought like a cornered animal, firing everything it had at the Keldorian flagship. Other phantom ships, now back in normal space, joined the attack, but the Emperor's vessel was heavily shielded, Their weapons barely scratched its surface. Dr. Maya Franklin, a quantum physicist who had been working with Dr. Wright, rushed onto the bridge. "Captain, I've been analyzing the entity's communications. I think there's a third option." "I'm listening," Kelly said, as the ship shuddered under another hit. "We can't beat the anti-phantom weapon, and we can't risk letting the entity fully into our reality. But what if we open a controlled gateway? Not to our universe, but to a different one?" Kelly frowned. "Is that possible?" "Theoretically. The entity exists between realities. If we can modify our phantom drives to work in concert, we could create a specific resonance pattern that opens a pathway to another universe entirely." "A universe without Keldorians," Kelly murmured. "Would the entity accept that?" Franklin nodded. "I believe so. They just want to survive. They don't specifically need our universe." Kelly turned to Winters. "Ask them." Winters closed his eyes, communing with the entity. When he opened them again, they glowed even brighter. "They agree. But they need energy to make the transition. A massive amount of energy. Like a fleet battle," Kelly realized. "They've been waiting for this moment." Wright nodded slowly. "The Keldorians, the phantom technology, all of it. Maybe this was always their plan." There was no time to debate the ethics or implications. The Keldorian fleet was closing in, and Earth's defenses were failing. "Send the modified resonance pattern to all phantom ships," Kelly ordered. "Tell them to form a circle around the Emperor's vessel." The remaining phantom ships, 15 now, moved into position. Each one began to pulse with that eerie blue light, growing stronger as they synchronized their drives. From the Emperor's flagship, the red energy field intensified, trying to disrupt the phantom state. But something was changing. Where the red and blue energies met, reality itself seemed to tear open, creating swirling vortexes of light and color. "They're fighting back," Mason observed. "The Keldorians know what we're trying to do." "Full power to the phantom drive," Kelly ordered. "Everything we've got." The Vanguard shuddered as its power systems were pushed beyond their limits. Around them, space itself began to warp and twist. Through the viewports, Kelly could see impossible geometries forming in the void, as if reality was being folded in on itself. Then, in a blinding flash of light, the entity revealed itself. Not just as patterns on a screen or through human proxies, but in its true form. It emerged from the spaces between spaces, a being of pure energy and impossible dimensions. Beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The entity surrounded the Emperor's ship, its form flowing through the Keldorian shields like they weren't there. Where it touched, matter transformed, becoming something not quite solid, not quite energy. Emperor Vexthor's voice came through on an open channel, filled with ancient hatred and fear. "You fools. You don't know what you've unleashed. We fought. These beings centuries ago barely survived their invasion. That's why we sought to destroy you before you found them." Kelly watched as the entity continued to envelop the Keldorian flagship. "We're not unleashing them on our universe, Emperor. We're helping them find a new home away from both of us." The gateway grew larger, a swirling portal of energy that connected their reality to somewhere else. The entity began to move toward it, pulling the Emperor's ship along with it. "You can't do this," Vexthor screamed. "You can't." His transmission cut off as his ship was dragged halfway into the portal. The anti-phantom weapon flared one last time, but instead of disrupting the phantom state, it seemed to stabilize the gateway, making it larger. "It's working," Franklin whispered. "They're going through." As the entity passed into its new home, it sent one final message, not in words or sounds, but in pure feeling, gratitude, and a promise to remember. The gateway closed with a final flash of light, taking with it the entity, the Emperor's ship, and the secret of how to create phantom technology again. Around Earth, the remaining Keldorian ships, now leaderless and faced with an enemy that had defeated their Emperor, began to retreat. First a few, then dozens, then the entire fleet. Captain Kelly watched them go, feeling neither victory nor defeat, only exhaustion and wonder. "They're running," Mason said quietly. "We won." Kelly nodded slowly. "For now, but something tells me This isn't the end of our story. He looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere beyond them, in a reality they could barely comprehend, the entity was building a new home. And perhaps, someday, they would meet again.